नमस्कार। केंद्रीय माध्यमिक शिक्षा बोर्ड द्वारा आयोजित आज के इस कार्यक्रम में आप सभी का स्वागत है। Good evening, everyone. I'm Shweta Singh, Joint Secretary CBSE, and it is my great pleasure to invite and host you at this event, which marks the launch of the CBSE Budding Authors Program. As we begin, I invite Dr. Joseph Emanuel, Director Academics, to formally welcome the eminent speaker panel, CBSE principals, teachers, students, and officers who have joined us today. Sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Chairperson CBSE, Mrs. Nidhi Chibbar, IAS, Secretary CBSE, Sri Anurag Tripathi, all the heads of departments of CBSE who have joined us on this platform, all the heads of schools of CBSE affiliated schools, all the teachers, librarians, students, and all others who have joined us on this platform this afternoon. I welcome each one of you to this launching program of CBSE Budding Authors Program. It's a great privilege and honor for me to welcome you on this platform. CBSE has introduced Reading Mission in the year 2021, and all the affiliated schools of the board has taken it very positively and promoted reading habits among its students to the best possible way they can. As an extension of this budding author, extension of the reading mission, CBSE this year has come out with the budding authors program. Learn to read and learn to write. Joyful reading as well as joyful writing. That is the skill which are aiming to be promoted through this budding authors program. All the great men born in this world are great thinkers and great writers. All the great work in the literature are born from the minds of great men. So from the early ages, this skill needs to be developed in our students. And for that, CBSE has come out with Reading Mission and Budding Authors program. The Nipun Bharat Mission, the Government of India's flagship program for promoting reading literacy as well as mathematical literacy among the students, is also connected with this program. This is an extended arm of Nipun Bharat Mission, which is promoted in the CBSE affiliated schools. As part of this mission, in the first phase, which is going to be held from tomorrow till 16th of September 2022, all the affiliated schools will observe reading weeks in their institutions. So during this week, the librarians, language teachers, and all other teachers will encourage students to read more and more books, newspapers, articles, and all other materials, whichever is available for them. And while promoting reading habits, it's also very important to be very cautious. Healthy reading habit, appropriate, age-appropriate selection of reading material. Everything needs to be taken care of, because reading of any negative kind of books will adversely affect the mindset of students. So healthy reading, happy reading, that is what is aimed through Reading Mission. So in this mission, CBSE is supported by its partners, Central Square Foundation as well as Pratham StoryWeaver Books. So, and National Book Trust is also extending their expertise for the conduct of this program. I thank all the partners for their valuable support. So in the second phase of the program, registration of the selected students identified by the schools will be happening on the online platform. So this registration process will happen from 16th September to 30th September. And at the third phase, from 30th September to 2nd November, the actual context on the technology platform, that is the authoring context, will happen. So all the dates are very important. Please note and guide your students for maximum participation of students and take maximum benefit of this program. So reading very quickly vanishing, we need to bring back joyful reading habits among the students. And joining us today for this webinar, uh, Madam Chairperson CBSE and all the heads of departments of CBSE, and our speakers. We have with us Mrs. Geeta Ramanujam, Mrs. Rohini Nilakani, and Dr. Shobita Panch. Very eminent speakers. They are uh, very well versed in this their area. They have contributed a lot in the reading skills as well as writing skill, as well as their philanthropic and social work areas. So you will be hearing more about them before they speak, and our academic officer, Dr. Shweta Singh, will introduce them before you. Very eminent speakers, and uh, we are thankful to all the speakers for accepting our invitation and welcome you to join this program. I extend my heartiest welcome to Madam Chairperson, uh, all the heads of departments of CBSE, and all the eminent speakers, all the principals, teachers, librarians, and students to this webinar. And may this beginning will be very successful and go very continuously throughout the period of this reading and budding of the mission. And once again, thank you all and welcome you all for joining this program and taking part of the reading mission as well as budding of this program. Thank you. Over to you, Shweta.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for setting the context and giving the message to all our schools to spread the joy of reading. Now I invite our chairperson, Madam Ms. Nidhi Chibber, to present the inaugural address. Ma'am.
Very good evening to everyone. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Once again, I also welcome all our principals, teachers, librarians who are a part of this webinar, as well as the eminent speakers who have kindly accepted our invitation to talk to our teachers and principals on the launch of this very important, I would say, program, the Budding Authors Program. Most of you are aware that last year CBSE had launched its Reading Mission, providing a vast repository of online books, high quality children literature with the help of the story weavers, Pratham Books StoryWeaver and Central Square Foundation. And as a logical next step, we felt that now is the time, which is quite right, to now encourage our students who've been reading to come up with their own ideas and pen them down. And we would be very happy to assist the schools and the teachers in realizing this goal. We are launching this on the second anniversary of the launch of National Education Policy, which itself lays a lot of emphasis on promoting reading habits amongst school children. So it's a very apt time to launch this program. And it actually has been, the genesis has been that stories find they help the kids in expressing their ideas in a way which maybe the purely academic subjects don't allow them to do. They play a vital role in the growth and development of the children. They fire up their imaginations. They learn about so many other things other than their own school, their own immediate environment, and take inspiration from a lot of characters which they read about. And it has, I'm told, it has also been found that children who write, who practice creative writing, are often better in other subjects also. So it helps them in their academic studies as well. So all this kind of prompted CBSE to launch this program. And as you know, a well-written piece involves a lot of thought, planning, organization, and proper use of language to get your ideas across. So we have also built in a sort of mentoring element into this program where authors will help uh, give guidance to the children in this endeavor. And today also we have invited eminent speakers who will share their insight as authors with you so that you can guide your budding authors in your schools and help them in putting their ideas on paper. So I don't have much to add. I wish this program all the very best. I hope it is very successful. We see a large participation of children across the country from all our CBSE schools. And I look forward to, meeting the uh, writers, the winners, and we will, of course, felicitate them later on and have a good body of work which we can show as the creative side of our kids to the world. We will publish these award-winning stories, and I'm sure it will be a great inspiration to the budding authors as well as other children who will emulate their efforts in the future. So all the very best, and I request all the principals and teachers who are present today to encourage their children in large numbers to participate in this program and make it a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for inspiring our students and schools. Thank you for emphasizing on the message that students' narratives and stories not only fire up their imagination, but helps them to reflect on and express various facets of their personality. Ma'am, may I now request you to launch this program, reveal the CBSE Budding Author poster, and officially make this project alive? Thank you, ma'am. Let us now move ahead to the next section of this program. Our country has a rich tradition of folklores, tales, and stories. The characters of the Panchatantra, the Jatak, and the Hitopdesh have been constant in our growing up years. Through the Reading Mission, we have encouraged our learners to explore and engage with a variety of stories and books. To talk more about the power of stories, I would like to invite a person who weaves magic with her words, the master storyteller, Geeta Ramanujan. Geeta ji is the executive director and founder of Kathalaya Trust and the Kathalaya's International Academy of Storytelling. She's an author, an educator, and a master trainer who has taught the nuances of this tool of learning to more than 95,000 people from varied fields. She has taken her art to not only all parts of the country, but to over 43 nations across the globe. Ma'am, may I request you to present your address, please? Geeta ma'am, can you hear me? I think there might be some problem. So while we wait for her connection to be restored, let us call upon the next expert, the next panelist. Yes. If there is a book you really want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, you must write it. Toni Morrison, the acclaimed author, said this. The idea that everyone has the potential to write his or her own favorite story is an appealing one. However, the progression from being a reader to writer is not simple. So, to reflect on how reading fuels the ability to write stories, we have in our midst Miss Rohini Nilikani. Rohini needs no introduction. She is a committed philanthropist and the signatory of the Giving Pledge. Rohini ji is the chairperson of Rohini Nilekani Philanthropies and co-founder and director of AkeStep, a non-profit education platform. She is the founder and the chief funder of Pratham Books. A former journalist, she is an author of multiple genres, fiction, non-fiction, as well as several books for young children. Ma'am, may I request you to share your thoughts, please?
Namaste. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this event. I'm very happy to be speaking at a part of a program on the CBSE's Budding Authors program in partnership with Pratham Books and StoryWeaver. I think it's really great to have a system-wide initiative to get young children, not just obviously to read, but to deploy their reading skills to be creative enough to write. So I hope that from this program, we will actually get over time some serious authors, some children who will, like I have, take to writing as a profession. When we started Pratham Books in 2004, it was to democratize the joy of reading for children. We wanted every single child across the length and the breadth of the country to get the opportunity to read books of all kinds, especially those that were rooted in our soil, that belonged to our culture, to our many languages, and that allowed children to get new, fresh content in addition to building on the epics of old and to create stories of all of India. We were very lucky that this became a societal mission to put a book in every child's hand. And over the first 10 years that I was at Pratham Books, we were able to reach millions of children with local indigenous content in many Indian languages. I think one of the breakthroughs that we had was to put up all of this content free under the Creative Commons license so that anybody could read those books for absolutely free, could download them, could share them, could translate them, could even create new versions of those stories. And truly, that was our effort to democratize access to the joy of reading. The CBSE Budding Authors program is also very important for one more thing, because if it spreads out to more and more schools and systems, then we'll get a lot more diversity of content. And in a country like ours, where languages change every 100 kilometers, cultures change, habits and the way of dressing, of being, rural, urban, all kinds of things keep changing. To have lots of diverse content coming out of this program, and especially if the program moves out into other schools and into society, then that is very important, because it is extremely important for children to get all kinds of diverse content. If we only read one kind of thing, then your world of the mind remains constricted. The more different things you read, the more you can develop your mind's faculties to think critically, to be able to put yourself into other people's shoes, to create empathy in children. I think empathy is such an important value in today's society, as we are all together going to face enormous challenges. The young children of today are going to face enormous challenges in the future. Now, to prepare them with the faculties of critical thinking and creativity and empathy, I think, is the job for all of us caring adults who care for the 300 million children of this country. CBSE's Budding Authors program has taken this idea even further, and it's really wonderful to see that authors are willing, young authors, young children are participating so well in this program to take their reading skills now to the next level, to writing skills. Of course, readers need writers so that more content is created for them to read, and writers need readers so that they will read what they have written. But the foundation of it all still remains reading. I do believe that reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. It keeps our minds healthy. Reading also helps, especially young readers, think about ethical issues. So, for young children, sometimes stories are very black and white. So they first enter that world of good and bad, hero and villain, right and wrong. But as they keep reading, they get into the grays, into all the rich nuances between black and white. And I do believe that allows for that very important critical thinking to emerge. And a thinking nation and a reading nation always go together. A reading nation is a thinking nation. If children don't get to exercise their minds through reading, then it is something we should all worry about. And from reading to writing, of course, is a very joyous further step to again hone those same processes of critical thinking, of thinking through beyond the binaries of blacks and white, and most importantly, to create a new ocean of readers as more and more good content gets written. I have been reading since I was 4, and I used to be always found with a book in my hand. All kinds of books, even comics. We used to have all kinds of comics from about the epics of India. Even at that time, we used to have Tintin. We used to have all kinds of story books. Akbar and Birbal, we used to read Anil Blyton, we used to read whatever we could get our hands on in those days, thanks to many wonderful libraries that were around in the place where I stayed, which was then Bombay. Every child in India is not so lucky to have libraries around them, which is why the role of Pratham Books in reaching millions of children around the country and having a positive impact on the publishing industry itself has been, I believe, some kind of a revolution in the idea of getting Indian children to read. And we've had such a terrific response that I'm very glad to see this next thing in the cycle, which is now can we get children to also think of writing? Because writing clarifies thinking. When you put your words down and then read that back to yourself, you can actually see if your thoughts are making sense. You learn to develop critical thinking. You learn to develop the practice of then going back and editing and making a document better and better and better till you yourself are satisfied as a creative writer. As we go forward, I hope the Budding Authors program can be, taken nationwide and most importantly into many, many languages, which means we need a lot of caring adults. They don't have to be teachers. They can be creative, caring adults in any profession, in any stream, to join this idea of getting children to write more at home, to read more at home. Schools are doing their job. Our boards like CBSE are doing their job. The union government, state governments are very much taken up with the idea of now that we have all our children enrolled, now that we have created a digital infrastructure as a backup to the physical infra that we already have. I think the government at all levels, including the school system, is taking the idea of reading and writing very seriously. We need to now further spread that out into society as well, so that writing can be done not just in English and Hindi and one more language, but in many, many languages of India. I think that will become the next challenge for us. But I'm very happy that Pratham Books StoryWeaver and CBSE schools and the system are doing this Budding Authors program. We would love to see it spread more into the community, and all the very best to the young writers. Be proud of what you write. Don't see it as something that you have to do as part of your getting your marks or just putting it on your CV. Really enjoy that creative act of putting new words out there for other people to enjoy. The StoryWeaver platform is always there for you to put up your content for other people to read. And may the best writers emerge from this program. All the very best. Dhanyavad.
Thank you so much, Rohini ma'am. It was an absolute pleasure to listen to you. A reading nation is a thinking nation. Thank you for that thought, and thank you for the message to the children when you said, be proud of what you write. I see that our speaker whom we wanted to speak earlier is back on the floor. Geeta ma'am, are you connected and are you there with us? I'll just quickly check.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Geeta ji. I request you to address our school leaders, teachers, and principals, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. And I'm sorry about this disturbance. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, Dr. Shweta Singh. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel. And thanks a lot for inviting me to this beautiful podium and this beautiful initiative of launching the book program. Thank you so much. So I have been a storyteller. I have been a librarian for over 10 to 15 years, after which I've been a storyteller for over 25 years now. So it is Kathalia's International Academy of Storytelling. And I'm sure there are a lot of principals and teachers here present to be able to listen to me. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. First of all, I want to let you know that stories are one of the primal and the oldest of traditions that was prevalent to be able to even bring about any kind of literature or learning in people. It started with listening and learning, and retaining, recalling, and retelling through a story was one of the most important mediums, in the olden times. Later on, we developed two R's, which was called reading and writing. So this is only a reinforcement of storytelling. So I just wanted to bring to your notice that we have evolved and come a long way from storytelling into reading. But reading also is slowly fading away, because I think now people are not interested in even reading, especially children. And I think reading is a skill, just like any skill, like writing is a skill, reading is a skill. So we need to develop the skill in children. And the best person to do this would be parents at home, and would be teachers and principals in the schools and in the institutions. And I think the most impressionable age would be the first standard, which will be from age, say, 5. And so most people think, when they call me as a storyteller, they would think, why don't you do it for the pre-primary children? And we have a conditioned mind that it is only for pre-primary children and it's not for the older children. But it is for older children from age 5, and it can go on forever. Just like Rohini was mentioning, I also grew up in Bombay, and I was fed only on books, thanks, because there was no technology then. So we had no choice, but it was a beautiful thing to just read and read and read, and also be fed with classics and beautiful literature from the classics. So one of the things that I would like to bring to your notice is that in the beginning, you could use stories and storytelling as a methodology, which is what I used to do in the Valley School Library. And I used to bring this about when I had to introduce something in the library, because it was a little dead place. Children don't naturally take to books. So once you read, once you tell a story, so how do you tell a story? Again, storytelling is becoming very monotonous. It's becoming very the ism that we call it. So can we do it in different ways? Can we bring different concepts and can we make to bring stories into this curriculum? And I think storytelling in education is very, very important at this stage. So I'm glad that CBSE is trying to develop this program. So I will just give you a few examples. One of the things that comes to my mind is the story of a camel. And this camel is with his mama, and they are both talking to each other. So the mother is very calm, she's very passive, and she's very fond of her little son. And so this little one, very cute, has lovely round eyes, and he looks up at his mother and he asks, Mama, how did I get such beautiful eyes, especially the eyelashes? Mama, how did we get our eyelashes? You must remember, children are full of how and why questions. So when the little one asked, Mama was very patient. And she said, oh, my little one, those large eyelashes and those beautiful eyes are to protect us from the sandstorms, from the desert winds, because we have a tough journey in the desert. And now, for a little while, the little one is satisfied. And then he says, Mama, can I ask you another question? And Mama says, sure, dear. He says, Mama, how we got the hump on our back? Why only we have the hump on our back? And then Mama says, oh, little one, you know we store water in that. And when we travel through the desert, a long distance, then it is very, very important for us to be able to hold this water and travel through the desert. Okay. Mama, thank you, Mama. Thank you for this wonderful answer. After a while, Mama, can I ask you one more question? Says, of course you can. And then says, how come we have such a rough skin, very hard and short legs? Yeah, I know the same answer, right? No, yeah, because we have to walk a long way, right? So we need this kind of tough skin and these legs to go. Thank you, Mama. Mama. Yes, darling. You told the eyelashes are to protect from the sun. You told that the hump is to store water. And you said the legs are to go in the desert. Then, Mama, why are we in the zoo? Mama, why are we in the zoo? Mama had no answer. Do we have answers? Are we putting the children into the zoos? Or are we trying to get them opportunities because we teach them what is the place of learning? We tell them a lot of things, but then we finally box them. We said, you must read, we say. But do we inculcate how they read, what they read? Do we spend time with them? Quality time, I think, is so essential. And teachers, I'm begging the principals of the schools, the managements and the teachers, that if you want to have a creative, a different way of keeping your class concentrating on your concepts, I think it's so essential for you to be able to communicate, passionate, to be concerned. That can happen when you tell a story and read aloud. Once you read aloud, the children will get reading a book, don't you? I'm sure you all know it. I'm sure you'll agree. But you'll have to invest something, because let's make it a little structured. And we at Kathalia, for the last 25 years, we have been offering workshops and we have been doing academy courses. We have so many courses. We are completing our 200th batch. And I'm still wondering why some of the managements and teachers do not come for our courses. You have to empower yourselves. And I'm sure you will not regret it, because spend a little money and you will get tenfold the money back. Not only that, you will learn creative ways of how to make the classes interesting for the children. And then children from reading will automatically become creative, beautiful, lovely writers and authors. And that's what I think this whole forum is all about. So I don't want to take too much of your time, except that maybe there are different ways of starting a story. You could probably start with a song. You can have a puppet, and there are different methods like this. And I'm sure you can see this froggy puppet here. Okay, so you can see and there was the frog which was going and hopping along. You can start with this. You can also start with another way.
सुनो सुनो सुनो, सुनाते हैं तुमको कहानी। ये है 3 दोस्तों की कहानी। सुनो सुनाते हैं तुमको कहानी, ये है 3 दोस्तों की कहानी। दिन दिन तक दिन दिन तक दिन दिन ता 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 ता।
Wow, thanks, Rohini. So there you see, you can use an instrument, you can use your table, you don't only have to read out. You can use anything, you can use a puzzle. You can say, once upon a time, there was a huge lake and there came a fish, a frog, and a turtle together. Teen dosto. Sounds. Okay? So make the stories interesting. Make it wonderful. And then children will ask, and then what happened? And then the frog is going to say, then they didn't accept me as friends. And then I had to hide behind the rock. But it's okay, it's okay. And then the turtle and the fish did not allow that frog to get into the lake. And what did the frog do? The frog finally actually helped his friends because they were caught in the net and they could not escape. And it was this frog who came and sang a song and said, Ayirapatara Malaka, Nurapatara Palaka, Ekapatara Makapatara Patra Patra Yallaka, which means the person with 1,000 ideas is lying upside down. The person with 100 ideas is lying sideways. Please, God, give me one idea. I want to save my friends. And so what does he do? He starts shouting, and then there is a little squirrel which comes and bites the net, and both the friends go out. They are embarrassed, but our froggy friend is so sweet. He said, "Pachak," and he gives his hands, and both of them hold it, and they all sing the song together. Kawa sumo yoma vani ka okay oka koke kopyong. Now, if you want to learn this, and if you want to learn a lot of voice modulations, and if you want to learn about how the little bird came to the mountain, because this now also doing a course for the NSD, National School of Drama, and I'm here in Tripura, and I'm so glad that they are really benefiting through our workshops and courses. So I'm sure all of you would love to come. I've also released a new book from Penguin, which is called Tales from the World, and it has 20 stories from 48 countries that I've traveled. People are using it as a text for the 3rd standard and 4th standard in schools. So I'm sure you can pick this up from Amazon. You can pick it up from a bookshop. So pick up a few books like Pratham and Tulika and these books. And I'm sure you will form your own little libraries in your classroom and begin and be empowered, be compassionate, and do your storytelling. If you want a little expertise and little polishing, come to us. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And thank you again, the CBSE board chairman, Shweta, and Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present to you a little bit of what I know on the tips and techniques of reading and storytelling. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Geeta ji. You have given a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts for our teachers to reflect on. And of course, the baby camel and the frog will remain with us for a long time to come. The process of exploring ideas, developing plots, and creating stories brings immense joy. Our next speaker, Dr. Shobita Punj, will discuss how educators can foster reading and creative writing in classroom. Dr. Shobita's area of study and work have been art history, ancient history, and art education. She is the author of over 15 books, including Museums of India, Great Monuments of India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, Daughters of the Ocean, Discovering the Goddess Within. Dr. Punch has lent her expertise to the Center for Culture Resources and Training, INTAC, and the Ministry of Culture on multidisciplinary projects for the conservation, restoration, and upgradation of several museums across the country, as well as the development of heritage education and communication programs. Dr. Punj, I invite you to share your ideas of classrooms that can be hubs of reading and writing. Ma'am.
Namaskar to all of you, and thank you, Sweta ji, for such a lovely welcome and such kind words. It's really an honor to speak about this really important program on the reading mission and for budding authors. I think the program is extremely important, like the other speakers have said, because both reading and writing help us to think independently, to reflect, and both thinking and reflection enables the mind to grow. We form memories, we explore ideas, we understand the meaning of words, we understand the structure of stories. Reading provides so many different skills that we need in our everyday life. In the Budding Authors program, I think the heart of it is creativity. Now, creativity is a very, very difficult word to explain. And I, as a teacher for several years, have struggled with this idea and how to explain it. Many, many experts have written books on the subject of creativity. In my time, 100 years ago, when I was young, creativity wasn't a complimentary word. In fact, it was used to describe people who were unpredictable, unsettling. Many great artists had personalities that did not conform to society. But today, creativity has reached a super status. Every industry wants creative people. Every field today is looking for creative individuals who will contribute to the work that they're doing. If you look at the history of human beings, right from the beginning, it is the story of creativity. The human brain, as it evolved, became curious, learned to be creative, to innovate, and to invent. If you look at anything in our ordinary life, our computers, our phones, our clothes, our transport, our homes, anything, they've all been created by the human mind over generations and generations. The importance of creativity is that it helps the brain to foster creativity, invention, and innovation. So for me, creativity is as necessary to our survival as air is to our existence. Human history would not have been the same if we hadn't been creative people. Think of your ordinary life. You're asked in your school to take an extra class. You have to innovate an idea. You have to come up with something in seconds, in minutes, of what to do with a classroom of children that you're not even prepared to do, but you do it. That is the creativity we use every single day in our life. Imagine if we can hone that skill. Imagine if we could get children to work in the creative field. to really become creatively responsive human beings. The creative process begins with problem solving. If you ask a designer, they specialize in solving problems. And I want to give you an example of something that we did or what I have done in workshops throughout the country with age groups from 75 years to 7 years. We walk into the classroom, into the workshop, and we say, if you were an animal, which animal would you choose to be? Someone says dog, someone says bird, someone said, one teacher said to me, I would like to be a snake. And I thought, gosh, that's an amazing idea. Why a snake? And you know what her response was? She said, just the idea that I can change my skin ever so often and become new again. I thought it was such a beautiful idea. So if you were to walk into the classroom and ask your children, your students, to think of an animal that they would identify with, like to be, listen to their responses, talk about the various animals, and then give them an activity. Read as much as you can on the net, look at videos, find out everything you can about that animal, and write a story about my adventures as a bird or whatever animal they've chosen, my adventures as dash, dash, dash. Now, with this exercise, the student, the human being, learns to feel for another, learns to think out of the box into the shoes, into the feet of another. It's a problem solving activity of how to write about the life of an animal that you are living. Imagine the kinds of responses you'll get, the kinds of things that the kids will come up with, the students will think of. I remember we did a workshop just 4 or 5 months ago with class 9 students in Delhi, government school students. We were working with waste materials. And in the last session, I said, will you make me a toy for a blind child, for a blind child who could not see? Oh, the amount of discussion that went on between the children. They were talking about sounds that would interest kids. They were talking about the texture of the toys. They were talking about how they should make it so that it's safe for the child. They did so much discussion before they started working. At the end of the session, they said, please, can we do an exhibition of our work because we want to share this with others. So we did an exhibition. They did it very professionally. They laid out all their toys, and whoever came to visit, they took them. For to understand how the brain works is to understand that our senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, are all the senses from which we get all the information about the world. Everything we know about the world comes from these 5 senses. You can imagine how important they are for writing. We see the world through the eyes, but your senses can be so finely tuned that my daughter can hear from my voice the mood that I'm in. She said, Mama, you're upset today. She knows it from the way not what I'm saying, but the way I'm saying it, the sound of my voice. So using the senses and acquiring the skills to fine tune it is very important. So do some warm up exercises before children start writing, before your students get activated. You can pick up an object. You can pick up something and say, what is the color? They'll say orange, and you'll say orange like a fruit. Someone may say orange like the sun. Someone may say orange like, yes. But to be able to say, Shwetaji is wearing a beautiful yellow sari. Yellow like butter, yellow like a mango, yellow like, and you are forced to think imaginatively, to think of the appropriate color, because there are a million yellows and a million green. So little warm-up exercises to teach them to think in similes, to fine-tune their senses. The variations in sound, the variations in taste, all are very, very important. The most difficult thing about creativity is evaluation. And very quickly, I can tell you, I understand it's a very difficult topic. But there's three things you need to look at, in my mind. One is the context, the background of the child, the individuality of that child. Every student has their own skills, their own abilities. As my father used to say, 5 fingers, none of them are the same. I wish to say that this budding authors program should encourage that kind of difference. Let children express their individuality. We don't want everyone to be the same. One of my problems that I have with multi-choice questions is it's useless. In life, you never get multi-choices. You have to think of the context. You have to work out the problem with every individual situation. There's no yes tick, no tick. You can't do life like that. You need to think creatively all the time. I think one way to evaluate is to do group evaluation, get students to listen to other children's stories and tell you what they think about it, what they like about it. Give it to others to read so that you can spread that awareness. But in a democracy, we need to nurture differently skilled, creative people. Because the more differences we have, the more variety we have, the more we can help and improve the life of others. There are many writing difficulties that students face, like dyslexia. You have to be very patient with these children, because even though they may have a disability, it's compensated with another skill. Many, many dyslexic children who can't spell, who can't read, are really creative individuals. Some of our greatest artists and thinkers have been dyslexic. Look for originality, the story that they choose, the choice of words, the kind of way that you can understand that they're trying to do something new, something different, something their own. And also look for spontaneity. Spontaneity is just a wonderful, wonderful expression of joy in human beings. And I'll tell you a very little story. I was teaching a class 6 literature, and the kids were getting very restless at the end of a class, and it was time to go. And I said, okay, one small poem. And I read out this poem, Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with the spoon. And I said, please write me a 5-line poem about something that is inanimate, that is not living, and let the story be about that. There was one boy I will never forget. He gave his assignment on time, he did his homework on time, but then for the next week, every day he would see me, he would give me another poem and another poem and another poem because he was so excited by the challenge. And this is a very important lesson for me because the Budding Authors Program is not about making children competitive. It is about making them creative, enabling them to be creative, and giving them personal joy and satisfaction that they've been able to solve a problem, meet a challenge, and they like what they're doing. I want to just end by saying, because I'm looking out of this lovely window, that just like a plant needs the right amount of soil, the right sunlight, air, water, so do students, so do all of us. Too much of anything can destroy the plant. Yes? So the soil is the stable environment in which we live. To make the environment of your classroom so stable, so happy, so full of nutrition that the students can grow. Sunlight to make students aspire to do better every day. Air to make them breathe with delight, to grow, to flourish, to be free, to be able to dance in the wind. And water. Water because we are all thirsty, we're all curious, we are all full of so many ideas. And as young people, they need to quench their thirst. You give them an opportunity. You get a student, all your students, excited about a challenge, introduce them to an idea that they can get involved in an activity that really inspires them, then there is no need to nag the student. Parents won't have to do the homework. There will be no end of concentration of that child. They will continue to learn on their own and they will continue to practice. And this is the beginning of lifelong creative education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Punj. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for giving some IT team to share the slides. Yes, let's go ahead. So the details of this program are available on the CBSE academic website. This is circular number 88, which was notified on the 17th of August 2022. So the first round of this program is supposed to be held at schools. The students can write in 3 different categories. To support, let's move to the next slide, please. To support the schools, what we have tried to do is build a set of guidelines which we have annexed to the circular, as well as evaluation guidelines. So the teacher will have something to evaluate the stories which the students submit. It is requested that this activity be performed during school hours so that everybody can be involved and engaged in this exercise. Let's move ahead to the next slide. For the second phase registration and onboarding on the technology platform, we are requesting schools to nominate two students in each of the category and help them to register on the CBSE platform. So once they have done this, they can start creating their stories and completing it. The timeline for the registration is 30th of September, and they have time throughout the month of October to develop their stories. Meanwhile, they will be provided a lot of different assignments, so they will be provided some different types of stories where emphasis is either on the plot or on the characterization or on some other nuance of writing. Once the platform closes on the 2nd November, the stories will be screened and, of course, the evaluation process will happen. Let's go to the next slide, please. And finally, we will be shortlisting a few stories. So those stories and students who are shortlisted, we will be attempting to mentor them. We will be connecting these authors with expert editors and illustrators to finalize the stories. And of course, the final entries will be published as a collection of short stories from the CBSE with the support of StoryWeaver and the NBT. So this is about this program. The details are available, and of course, we are here to respond to any queries which you have. As we conclude this program, I would like to thank all those who have helped us to conceptualize and formalize the Budding Authors program. The beginning of expert panelists who have brought a rich perspective to various aspects of the program. Geeta ji, Rohini ji, and Dr. Punj, thank you so much. I want to thank CBSE Chairperson Ms. Nidhi Chibbar for her guidance and constant encouragement. I want to thank Director Academics for the handholding he provides throughout this process. I want to thank the CBSE leadership, Secretary CBSE, directors, regional directors, heads of COEs, ROs, my colleagues from the academic unit, from the skill education unit and the training unit, our partners in this program. A big thank you to StoryWeaver team, especially Purvi ji, Amna, Monica ji, the CSF team, Monica, Ronak ji, MB team. I would also like to thank the CBSE IT team, Sudesh ji, Dheeraj ji, and various other people who have contributed. We also want to thank the school heads who have joined us, the teachers and the librarians who are participating in this program in the CBSE Reading Mission, and of course, our children. We are waiting to receive stories, narratives sent by you, and we are waiting to read, go through them, and of course, to publish them. Thank you so much. Namaste. Dhanyavad.